Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. It's the small matter of the Manchester derby, and I don't really exaggerate that word either, because to be honest, it is just another 3 points to Manchester City now. That's all it really is, another 3 points, where rewind 10 years, 20 years ago, that was our season. The Manchester derby, the fixtures come out at the start of the season, the first game you're looking for, when do we play United? When do we play Manchester United? Home or away? When do we play them? That's all that mattered all season. You know, we looked forward to that game, and if we beat them, it was like a trophy to us. We went mental if we ever beat Man United. Now, Manchester United, are they? Boring. United, boring, mate. Beating United isn't what it used to be anymore, which is a bit of a shame, really. But don't get me wrong, I will be doing a watch-along, and I will be thoroughly basking in all the glory if we do beat Manchester United, as it's always enjoyable, really, isn't it? Not as it used to be, mind you, but just to stick one in them again, it is always enjoyable. But before I do get into my combined Manchester United and Manchester City started 11, I wanted to bring something to your attention that you might be aware of, a certain individual coming into the media and giving his opinion on the history of Manchester United and the history of Manchester City, and how one club will never be as big as the other one. Jamie O'Hara, of course, let me just find the quote for you quickly here. Jamie O'Hara has been speaking to The Sun, that reputable newspaper we all love to purchase and read every day. I'm sure you all do that, don't you? Buying The Sun. Well, who does that anymore? Anyway, Man United and Liverpool are going to be the biggest clubs in the UK forever because of their history, says Jamie O'Hara. It's as simple as that. I don't care how many trophies you win. It doesn't matter, does it, apparently? It doesn't matter. You could win 10 Champions Leagues and you are never going to be as big as Man United. I mean, you can see where this is going already, can't you? There's only one team in Manchester, and that's Man United. History is what matters. Never in a million years are Man City, a million years, are going to be as big as Man United. We could be playing 40 or 50 or even 100 years' time. We could even be playing on another planet, and United will be bigger than City. Intergalactic football we're now talking about, Jamie O'Hara, and even on that dimension that you're talking about, we're not going to be as big as Man United, apparently. Oh, you love it, don't you? City can't even fill out their own ground. That old chestnut, yeah, that's not been and done. That joke is dead in the water and factually untrue, of course, but never mind. Football goes around in cycles. There's a little snippet of genuine knowledge in there. You can hear him. You can just pick that out there. Football goes round in cycles. And then he goes on to say, Man City are having their time now because they've got Pep Guardiola in charge, but I believe Man United will come back because they're Man United. That's it, it's a given. Just the name does it, apparently. It doesn't matter if their ground is falling around and their fans have to wade through an ocean of piss to get to their seats. Doesn't matter that they win fuck all trophies compared to Man City nowadays. Doesn't matter that their club is in complete and utter turmoil and they celebrated the idea of an oil state ownership model coming into their football club. That doesn't matter. No, none of that matters because they're Man United. Man United, that's all that matters. Just irrelevant, all the things that are catastrophically going wrong at that football club. It doesn't matter, you know, because you can just sit back on that comfy cushion made of history. Relax on your history, lads, because while you're relaxing on your history, we're making our own history. I haven't even finished yet. Bear with me 1 second, because this is not over yet. He goes on to say, you can't compare Man City to the likes of Real Madrid. They and Barcelona are always going to be Real Madrid and Barcelona, and Liverpool and Man United are always going to be Liverpool and Man United, no matter what decade. They're still the biggest clubs in the world. Man City are owned by a state and they've got Pep Guardiola as their manager, but let me tell you, that will change eventually. So it's all down to Pep Guardiola, apparently. But if you want to talk about decades, you want to know a little fact for you. United fans will probably be heavily relying on that status, those comments that Jamie O'Hara's come out with, and they probably do heavily rely on that type of mentality, that way of thinking that history is all that matters nowadays. And the word never is a fascinating word, isn't it? The word never. They seem to continuously use that word. You'll never win a trophy. And all these things that they've said never about, they've had their own opportunity to stop us from doing the never. You know, the Fergie quote, never in my lifetime. Not in my lifetime will City be on top of Manchester United. Well, that went in the bin pretty quickly, didn't it? Never will Manchester City win a trophy again. And in the semi-finals of the FA Cup, Man United had a chance to knock out Man City and they failed, thanks to Yaya Toure putting it past David De Gea to knock United out, and City go on to win the FA Cup in 2011. Never will Manchester City win a Premier League title, and they had the opportunity. Final day of the season it went down to. They had the opportunity before that to go further into the Premier League history books and stop City from winning a Premier League title, and thanks to Sergio Aguero's last gasp goal, that was put in the bin as well. Never will Manchester City win a treble. Never. They had their opportunity to stop that as well. The FA Cup final, 12 seconds in, the bin it goes. That's when it's over. The treble's done by that point, because you know we're going to Istanbul and winning that famous historic treble. And we did it as the reigning champions of England. And then we went and won the UEFA Super Cup. United were not the champions when they won the treble, and they didn't go and win the UEFA Super Cup either to follow it. So that has been surpassed in every way imaginable. The bollocks that comes out with Manchester United fans, and Jamie O'Hara isn't even a United fan, he's a Spurs fan, so I have no idea why a Spurs fan is chipping in to this type of conversation. It is beyond me. But City, okay, right now have 33 trophies to their name, which is half of what Manchester United do, and it's an incredible history. There's no two ways about it. I'm not going to sit here in denial like United fans do and pretend that United don't have history. Of course they do. 66 trophies since 1907 Manchester United have. But of the 33 trophies that City have attained, do you want to know how many won in the last decade? 21. So let's do some maths, shall we? Let's get the Akanji maths book out. Get the Akanji calculator out, shall we? Because in the last decade, United have won 8 trophies. And City have won, like I said, 21 trophies. So you want to talk about decades, do you, Jamie O'Hara? Because in 40 years, let's call it 40 years, because that was the generous part of the quote that he said. He did say a million years and intergalactic football on other planets as well, because, I mean, yeah, there's not much sense I can make from that, unfortunately. But let's go with the sensible things he said, like 40, 50 or 100 more years. Let's be generous to United and say in 40 years' time. So on a trajectory path of trophy collecting that Manchester City are on right now, with 21 being won in the last decade. Okay, let's work this out. In 40 years' time, City will have 84 more trophies to their name. United have won 8 trophies in the last decade, which will put them on 32 trophies. And in 40 years' time, that will give City a total of 117 trophies to United's total of 98 trophies. So it only takes 40 years. I'm 35 years old. In 40 years, I'll be 75 years old. So even in my fucking lifetime, we will have surpassed United in every way imaginable if we continue on the same trajectory. The likeliness of City continuing on that same trajectory isn't going to be 21 trophies in a decade. It might start to dip. But the point I'm proving is that there is no way you can look at the future and continuously say the word never. Never, never, never. They can keep coming out with it, don't they? It is utter bollocks that they come out with. But do you want to know what some proper journalism looks like? Jack Gaughan, okay? Brilliant journalist. Because he asked Pep Guardiola the question, "Hiya Pep, have you seen the quotes from Facundo Pellistri overnight where he's talking about Manchester City supporters?" Pep said nope. He says he lives in Manchester and goes around with his girlfriend trying to find Manchester City jerseys in the city centre and says that he doesn't see any. Do you think that's a bit strange? Bit of a strange thing to say for an individual to do, to go around a city centre looking for shirts of another team? Yeah, it is, Jack Gaughan, and what a fantastically phrased question as well. Pep Guardiola, of course, said, it's okay, if this guy is his girlfriend and believe that, whatever they want, it's fine. Basically, Pep was responding as this is the most irrelevant person in the world, trying to clutch at straws and almost behave in such a bitter way, like their whole fan base tends to do now, and like we used to do. Sadly, we used to be like that. We used to live in the shadow of Manchester United and we used to take any little win we could possibly get. "Oh, you've got no fans. Oh, you'll never have our history." Like, we used to do things like that. It's petty, bitter, and they are beneath us. Which is why I echo what I said at the start of this video, that small as they are small to us. They are insignificant to us. Currently sitting 8th in the table. If we go and beat them and West Ham and Chelsea win at the weekend, which is reasonably likely, they'll find themselves in the bottom half of the Premier League. You irrelevant nobodies. Anyway, on to the Manchester United and Manchester City starting 11. So, there's no two ways to start with the best number 5 in Premier League history. In Premier League football, right now, the best number 5. There he is. Oh, sorry. Wrong one. There we go. John Stones, of course. John Stones, there we go. Right back. Kyle Walker. I've not put the keeper in yet, but it's a given. It's a given. It's a given. Not Shea given, but it's a given. It's a given. But alongside John Stones, you've got to put in Ruben Diaz in there, haven't you? Let's pop the keeper in while we're at the back. Edison, because Onana is an embarrassment right now. He continuously makes mistakes, and the disbelief in himself after he saved that last-minute penalty against Copenhagen midweek, you could see it in his own eyes. He didn't even believe he did it. How this guy went from a Champions League final in Inter Milan to join Manchester United and see his career capitulate and completely collapse is beyond me, and it's not an unfamiliar pattern that we see with players who have high potential and high quality and go to that rotting football club and watch their own careers rot in that stadium that is rotting itself. In terms of Kyle Walker, who else is going to go in there? Wan-Bissaka? Nope, not a chance for me. Going forward, not on Kyle Walker's level. Defensively, good player Wan-Bissaka, but not on Kyle Walker's level. John Stones, Ruben Diaz, what you got? Varane, Lindelof, Maguire. Nope, absolutely nope. Left back, for me, this is one that's debatable. You could argue for Luke Shaw. Really, this is going to have no terms of injuries, and let's say everyone's got a fully fit squad to pick from. And I'm going to go for 4-3-3, which is probably the most common formation you see nowadays. I've still got to go for Gvardiol just because of what I've seen this season. Going off form, I know Luke Shaw isn't fit right now, but going off form, Gvardiol is taking the league by storm, quietly doing it. I don't think many people will be looking at Gvardiol's performances yet and seeing what a player this guy is. They haven't seen it yet, because they're the layman's. They don't understand what they're watching right now, and they will, by the end of the season, recognise what Josko Gvardiol is all about. They will. They'll understand this kid is going to be one of the greatest defenders in Premier League history, because he is a formidable player that's playing out of position and making other left-backs look like they don't understand what the left-back position is. In the middle of the park, pretty simple, really. Rodri, got to go straight in there, hasn't he? Rodri right in the middle. Casemiro. That was a debate, wasn't it, last year? A debate, Casemiro, Rodri. It's a nonsensical conversation now. That conversation needs putting in the bin with the rest of all these United claims that they continuously come out with. Bruno Fernandes versus Kevin De Bruyne? Really? Are we going there? We're not going there, because Kevin De Bruyne is going in there. I don't even want to talk about that little rat-faced arse, little cheating shitbag that he is. Nobody, Bruno Fernandes, he's not even fit enough to lace Kevin De Bruyne's boots. Nothing in comparison to him. Now in midfield alongside Rodri, arguably there is still place for possibly Bruno Fernandes, but that's his position there. That's his position. So he ain't getting in. He ain't getting in there. No chance. Now, you could go with Phil Foden in there. You could go with Bernardo Silva with there. But this, for me, it has to be Bernardo Silva in the middle there. Bernardo Silva, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne. You know, even with Ilkay Gundogan being missing as well, you could pop Bernardo Silva in there, no problem. Bernardo Silva was drifting out there for a lot of the time, but Bernardo Silva can play there, probably will play there plenty of times this season as well, has already played in defensive midfield so far this season. For me, Bernardo Silva has to go in there. Up top, pretty simple, really. No Højlund, absolutely no chance for Højlund to be in that squad. It's a no-brainer again. Now you start to... The one other area alongside Luke Shaw, which I think is a debate. There is a debate to be had there whether Luke Shaw could get in at left back. The other area is Marcus Rashford. I think that is a debate that could be had again. But for me, I'm going Jeremy Doku on the right because, I mean, who else really? Are you going to go for Garnacho or Jadon Sancho? Anthony? No. Really? I mean, I could put Phil Foden in there and he'd be still ahead of those two, or those three United players that I just named. You know, Doku right now is scintillating. He's sensational. You know, he's electrifying. You know, and he's getting goals and assists to his name, and he's taking the Premier League by storm right now. So on form, Jeremy Doku gets ahead of pretty much most City players right now in that particular position, as well as any United player in that particular position. So there, again, Jeremy Doku has to go in. Now this is where Marcus Rashford would play. Really, this is where Marcus Rashford would play. And a bit of a big gap there, I'm going to bring them a bit closer. But, yeah, you could put Phil Foden in there. You could put Jack Grealish in there. Or you could put Marcus Rashford in there. Now, for me, I think Phil Foden's versatility, he deserves to go in there. On form this season, he's been brilliant. Certain games in particular, he has been sensational. Some of the football he's been doing, he could have gone in there. And I could have put Bernardo Silva in there. Either way, there is no space for United players in this team. The only area where you can debate it is Marcus Rashford and Luke Shaw. And it's a debate that for me would be over pretty quickly. These players are not just goals and assists. You talk about expected assists, expected passes. You talk about their involvement, their versatility, the role that they have in their team as well, and what the impact they have on the actual winning side of the game. These players, for me, it would be Phil Foden up there for me, and Bernardo Silva tucking in midfield. But there is no space for Man United players. That is the end of the combined starting 11 and the end of the Manchester United versus Manchester City debate. Right now, as it stands, United are insignificant compared to Manchester City, and the idea that people are trying to stoke the fire, trying to ignite something, that United are still on the same level as Manchester City, they are beneath us in almost every way. Only history is the only thing that they are clinging on to. They clung on to so many things, that a little checklist of things that they could have a pop at City about. And every year we check one of those off ourselves and say, you can't talk about that. Get your 34 years banner down from Old Trafford and you can wipe your fucking arse with it, because you're done making jokes about City now. You are the laughing stock of Manchester. You are the clowns of Manchester that are laughed at by those noisy neighbours that will never do anything that you've done. Anything you can do, we can do better. That springs to mind, doesn't it? Blues and Rags. Get in the comments below. Do you agree with my combined starting 11? Rags, I presume you don't. City fans, I presume you do. Get in the comments below. I really want to hear them. Join me for the watch along if you want to see some spicy conversations about Manchester United versus Manchester City. Come and join me for the watch along this Sunday. It will be an entertaining one. I'm looking forward to it. Really good times ahead for Manchester City fans. Get in the comments below. Do drop a like and subscribe. Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is typical City now, holding up Silva.